Welcome to Wine and Real Estate. And tonight we're drinking something special. So, Monte Cheval. So, it's actually a cheap bottle of wine, but it's actually quite good. So, 90 points, which is quite good if you do enjoy wine. And it's from Montenegro, a dry red wine. And Jennifer, do you want to
Yeah,
tell
I
us more
don't think it
about?
was a cheap bottle of wine,
No,
but
it looks cheap. So, anyway,
well, I'm not saying that they had good taste with their label, but it is a very
Yeah,
good.
that not good marketing use.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes things are good things are in bad packaging.
yeah, that's it. Sometimes there's like something that like it's not very appealing or it's obscure. So tonight we are talking a bit about an obscure subject, which is a great transition,
Yes.
infinite banking. So people think about banking and how yeah, that can be fun or not fun to go to a bank.
And we have talked about it quite a bit before. Tonight we have a guest, Hayden Padalino, and he's helping investors grow and protect their profits in a tax efficient way, which is always very important, especially with the new budget that came out on April 1st. It wasn't an April Fool's.
No, unfortunately, we wish it was, but it wasn't. So, welcome, Hayden. Welcome to Wine and Real Estate. Let's drink to that. I think you're drinking
Yes,
something too.
to cheer.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Mhm.
cheers.
So, Hayden, can you tell us a bit about yourself? What do you do? What is infinite banking and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so I'm 26. I'm out of Guelph, Ontario. I found out about infinite banking about 4 years ago, and um, my initial thoughts were like when finding out just kind of the ins and outs of infinite banking was like, one, how many people it can help, just because of especially people my age trying to get ahead in life. It's getting more and more difficult, especially that was 4 years ago, and now today it's probably even harder. And so I is that was like a realization for me. And then once I kind of got more and more into the business, I realized um, how much it can help one business owners, but also investors and entrepreneurs as well. So that's kind of how I've gradually gone on this path as well, just with infinite banking and using the policies for myself. So there's that question, that answer. And then the other question was, what is infinite banking? And infinite banking is a process where you can be able to take back control of the money that you've worked hard for, and having the ability to keep more and grow the money rather than just giving a lot of money back to banking institutions and the government and sort of things like that. So just being able to take back control of the money. I like to use the example of a bucket. And so let's say you have this bucket and you put water, you keep filling water into this bucket, but the bucket has holes. And
Yeah.
the 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 idea with the bucket is, okay, let's patch up these holes so then we keep more water, right? But if we compare that to money, your bucket is the place where you store your money. The water is the money coming in, but then the holes are taxation, inflation,
Bank
debt,
fees.
yeah, fees, debt repayments, that sort of things. But then when we think about it in the money standpoint, our thoughts is, oh, I need to make more money. We don't think about, let's patch up these holes. And so
Yeah.
Mm.
with infinite banking, it allows you to patch up some of these holes so you can keep more of that money. So that's a quick little example I like to use to kind of make it like a real life example. It's just because infinite banking is so different than traditional banking. And so giving that real life example kind of helps people understand what infinite banking is.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I really like the example you gave because a lot of people, when we mention that, oh, they think, do you have a debit card? Okay, we're not talking about this kind of bank, like
Yeah.
by any means. This is very different. And then people say, can I roll my coins and like hand it to you? Very different bank again. It's not a consumer bank or
Mhm.
whatever you call it, BMO
Yeah.
or
It's not,
RBC.
yeah, like also not like an ATM. It's not supposed to be used as an ATM. You still want your money inside of a bank for debit purchases because that's
Yeah,
not what infinite banking is.
Yeah, I think it's more big picture and more.
big items like mortgages,
Yeah.
Yeah.
lines of credit, those bigger purchases. And it's funny, today I had a conversation similar to this one about Costa Rica, where we invest quite a bit, and financing there is very complicated, and banks charge a lot of fees. In Canada, we're fortunate. Usually, you have like a monthly subscription or something, and it's kind of even. Over there, they nickel and dime every little thing, and then yeah, there's taxes, inefficiencies, a whole bunch of things. So this person said, "Oh, I'm going to set up my own bank." Because I want to capture all of it, and there's great profit there. So the banks are not silly; they know there's lots of money. So if you become your own banker, you're capturing a lot of that profit. You are using, I guess, an insurance company, so there are some costs, but it's still far less than paying a mortgage at RBC or BMO. And you're the expert; you'll have to correct me on that one, but you also get to keep that buying power. While the mortgage, as you pay it, unless it's like a readvanceable mortgage, it's gone after you need to reapply and all kinds of things. So
Correct. So since you have to look at it with the policies that let's say if you've purchased a mortgage within the policy, you now own that debt. You own it, not anyone else. And so the loan repayments you make are back to yourself. And so that just gives you access to that money once again, rather than a traditional mortgage. Your loan repayments are going to someone else's bank, and so you lose that money altogether. And if you want to, just about banking in general, if you want to look at it like your relationship with a bank, think of it as a business. So you front all the money, the bank takes all the profits, but then you take on all the risk if banks collapse like they have been,
yeah.
right? And so if you think about it as a business, it's a horrible business model for the consumer. It's a great business model for the banks because they don't have to front any money and they take all the profits. Then with the insurance companies and how we design these insurance contracts is that we participate in the dividends. And so the money we put into these insurance companies compound and growth year over year, and then it grows our wealth further than what we would traditionally have inside the bank. And if you're to finance a mortgage through your policy, you're in control of all the rules. And so there's a saying, whoever has the capital makes the rules. And so
Yeah.
traditionally, banks have the money, so they make all these rules. But if in the policy, since it's your money and you're leveraging those cash values, the insurance companies don't ask any questions. They don't ask, there's no application, there's no credit checks as well. And so it's especially for real estate investors, the amount of headaches it is dealing with mortgages.
Oh my, yes.
It's brutal. And so you totally mitigate that mortgage aspect just because you're in control of everything and you're in control of your money. If you want to look at it this way, with entrepreneurs, investors, they like to be in control if it's time or the work they do. But money should be the first thing they should want to control. But typically they don't do that. They just hand the control off to the banks. And so it's good that infinite banking has that solution. It's just getting the word out there.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a habit. Like we exercise in the morning at 5:20 a.m. So we're paying ourselves first, health wise. But I think IBC is the same idea. Jennifer, would you agree? Like you have to flow through the money through a policy, then you invest it instead of just here it is and now it's gone. So
Yes. And I think that I'm somebody who kind of had a hard time kind of wrapping my head around it. And I think a lot of real estate investors probably do as well. Like, why would it make more sense to put it into the money into an insurance policy? How does it, like, I think it would be great if we kind of got like a concrete kind of idea of why would it be better for a real estate investor to go this route instead of getting the mortgage?
The main thing is opportunity cost. And so that's like a hidden hole in your bucket is opportunity cost. Typically how we pay for things is just cash and then we've lost out on the opportunity to earn interest on those dollars. And so if you want to look at it for a real estate, you save up money in your bank account and then take the money out and purchase for a down payment. So let's say the down payment is 50,000. You've now lost out on the opportunity to make money on those dollars. Now, people might say, oh, but the investment is growing, the asset of the real estate is growing, which is true, but the actual dollar component, you've now lost the opportunity to make interest on that dollar. And so with the, if you do it within the policy and take a policy loan out, so let's say you have $100,000 of dollars worth of cash values in your policy and you take a loan out for 50,000. The cash value is still compounding growth at the 100,000. So if you use the cash or not, it's growing at the same amount. And so you take the policy loan out for 50,000, purchase that down payment, but you haven't lost the opportunity to make interest because you are making interest on the inside the policy. And so you've now are making interest on the cash and then also growing with the investment and also the asset. And so you're growing your money two ways at once, and it's just a more efficient way to invest in the real estate compared to traditionally where you just save up money in your bank account and then go towards the down payment.
Yeah, and I guess people as well, when they're saving up, they put it in a savings account, so you get like 0.02% interest.
Yeah.
You want it fairly liquid because you're waiting to buy that property. Yes, I know people leverage money, they get private lenders, all kinds of things. That's another way of doing it as well. But if you're a bit more traditional, you're saving up, even if it's just $10,000 for like a slush fund or something, that's still kind of dead money. Another example I've discussed with other people before is buying a car. So maybe at first you have to kind of lose the opportunity cost because you don't have 30,000 or whatever it is for your car. But in the future, if you're able to get a policy loan, that's another item that's kind of dead money is the vehicle loan. You're paying interest now with inflation and stuff. We're seeing interest rates rise even on car purchases. So can you give us some example if that might be something more achievable to some people, buying a car using life insurance?
Yeah, so using the car aspect, obviously, since you don't own the debt, your debt repayments again are going to someone else instead of compared to you. And also, cars depreciate very quickly.
Right away.
Exactly. And so if you want to, you always want to be conscious about your wealth. And yes, you need cars, but you still want to have that thought in the back of your mind, like, okay, what is my wealth and how is that growing or not growing? And so if you use the policy for the car, you're now repaying yourself, and you have every month you repay yourself. If you want to repay yourself every month, that's the other thing as well. Since you own the debt, you're in control of the loan repayments. So let's say you're having a tough month and you're like, oh, I don't want to pay the car loan. That's totally fine. You don't have to. You can just, whenever you get the feet under you again, you can then start to contribute the loan repayments to pay off that loan. And then typically how the loan repayments for a car traditionally is at the end of our lease or finance. Yes, we have the car, but all the principal and interest are all gone. We'll never see that money ever again. But then with the policy, once we repay the policy loan for the car, we have the car, and then we have the built up cash, the principal that we've used for the loan repayments. And so after we have that car, we can then purchase another car, or we can have that saved up money to then purchase assets or investments or anything like that. It's just, so if you think about it this way, it's pretty simple. Would you rather in 5 years down the road have a car, or 5 years down the road, have a car and everything else you've put into the car. So
Yeah.
you just have like a forefront of money to then say purchase a new car or purchase investments.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, I'm just wondering, would you like to touch a little bit on the tax efficiency? So, like, why would it be efficient, like on the tax side of things? A lot of people are thinking about
Yeah.
income tax right now.
Top of
We
mind.
just finished our income taxes a little
Yeah.
while ago. So, like, why is it tax efficient to do the infinite banking strategy?
The growth on inside the policy is tax exempt, and so the reason why it stays tax exempt is because we don't withdraw the money. If we withdraw the money in our cash values, then it'd be taxed. But since we leverage it and take a policy loan out, it's not considered a taxable event. And so we put the money inside the policies and has it compounds in growth every year, year over year, but that growth doesn't get taxed. And so you're growing your wealth regardless inside the policy, rather than, let's say, for real estate, the growth inside the real estate, if you were to sell it or whatnot, or even rental income, that's
all
taxable.
Yeah.
Right. So having inside the policy is taxable, or is not taxable, sorry.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how the tax efficient side of the policy works, is just because we don't withdraw any of the money. We just use the policy loans as well. And if you're using for investments, the interest on the policy loan is actually tax deductible.
Yeah.
So it's a good reason to pay the loan back, just because when you're doing your taxes, you can then file that for a tax deduction, which is also just saves you a lot of dollars over the amount of your lifetime of investing.
Yeah, I've heard of people that do that. Like they use the money in their life insurance to invest. Then they create all these tax efficiencies, and then they reinvest, almost like the Smith maneuver with mortgages, to kind of collapse the money that they would pay on income tax, because now they've created expenses, this interest to repay those loans, and then they reinvest it in more policies and more systems. And are you familiar with that? It can
it's just
grow.
a cycle. Yeah, it's just a cycle. Like, you put the money inside the policy, it grows, you take a loan out, you repay the loan, you put more money in, it's just a funnel, and it's a cycle of how you do banking. It's very similar to how you do banking now. It's just you you deposit money in the bank, you then purchase something. The dollars you went to purchase something goes into someone else's bank, and then it's just another funnel as well. So we're doing the same thing as what we're already doing. It's just one different step. It's just like a different side street of what we're traditionally doing, and it's just a way better and more efficient way to bank, just because you're participating in the growth of your money rather than the bank taking all the profits. Because even like you mentioned it before with the high interest savings accounts, and it's less than half a percent. Like, it's not high interest at all, and they're earning 10-20% on the interest on those dollars. It's just not fair. But I think of it as also our fault as the consumers. Like, we're doing it, and they're not really forcing us to do it. Yeah, exactly. We're just kind of like accepting it because that's just the normal thing to do. But if you do the research and find more information about infinite banking, it's just a different way to bank, and you just participate more in the profits of the insurance company.
So you just touched, Hayden, on banking. I'm wondering, has the banking system issues had any impact at all on infinite banking?
Not infinite banking in general. If anything, people don't trust the banks even more. So they want somewhere safe to keep their money. Outside
under your mattress.
Yeah, well, it's probably better than inside the banking system, especially in the States.
Yeah.
But since the insurance contracts are outside the traditional banking system. It doesn't apply to fractional reserve banking at all. But just with how the economy is, with rising interest rates, or banks being more aware of, oh, we can't lend out so much money that we were doing. And so what happens is the mortgage lending restrictions get a lot tighter.
Yeah,
And
we're
so
seeing it.
what exactly? So, and that reason is because the banks have the money, they're in control, they make the rules. So they can easily say, you might be a perfect candidate for a mortgage, but the off day they might be like, no, we're not giving you that money, right? And it could be that, or if someone has poor credit or something like that, but they have the funds available to, like, they're a good candidate, it's just only the credit score that's affecting them, then they can't get a mortgage. But if you, over time, if you're funding your policy, you can then purchase, like, over time, the goal is to purchase a real estate asset 100% cash through the policy.
Yeah.
And then, since there's no application, there's no questions, there's no credit checks, it doesn't matter like what your credit score is. It doesn't matter anything really, because since you're in control, you make the rules, and it doesn't matter what the banks are doing or what the interest rates are, because it's your money, you're in control of it. And the other thing is, if you're using it for a rental property, that rental income you get, you don't have to pay a mortgage. So the full rental income is going back into the policy, and then over time you just have enough money again to purchase another property.
Wow.
And it's just
exponential growth.
exactly. And it's just, it'd be cool to see when you have the policy from year 0 to 20 years and you use that for real estate, how much growth and the exponential growth you received and earned if you've done it through the policy, or if you just did it the traditional way of how much money you could have earned.
Yeah,
And
the difference. Yeah.
You're gonna have to show us, Hayden.
Yeah.
exactly. I'll read. We'll do it 20 years in the future. But no, it's just all about control, and whoever has the money has the control. And the banking issues in America and in Canada, they're not going to go away. Like, this is kind of this is only the start of the mess. And it's the mess that the banks use, that they're the reason we have this mess, but then it's our money.
Yeah.
And so
Really
that's what I
sad.
said at the beginning, is just we take on all the risk, and then they take on the profits. And then if your money's with a big enough bank, they're just going to get bailed out by the government. So it doesn't really matter on their part. Like, they're safe, but then we're not. It's just not a fair way to bank. It's just not fair at all. And so with infinite banking, and again, it'll take many years to be able to fully fund properties and projects. But once you get there, you have full control of what you want to do. And you could even get into private lending yourself.
Yeah. Become
right?
the bank for others. And
Exactly. It's called infinite banking for a reason. There's limitless amount of opportunities to use the policy if you want to use it for yourself, or if you want to be the bank itself and lend to other people that maybe have poor credit, or to the bank are over leveraged. So you're just in a lot more control, and when you're in control, you make the decisions you want to make.
So you talk a lot about control, Hayden. I'm just wondering, like, with the banks, you said we're not protected, like we are to a certain extent. But when you put your money into IBC, what makes it more protected?
It's just outside the traditional banking system, and so it's not tied to anything. It's an insurance contract, and they can't. So if, let's say, the bank fails, the money inside the bank that can easily be gone. In Canada, it's the insurance is 100 grand, but anything above that is good as gone, basically.
Mhm.
And
And
I
so
read
that's,
as well the 100 grand is spread over like many banks. Like it's not designed for everybody to pull out their money at once. Then it's 100 grand here and there. It's not even for everybody, so
well,
it's
yeah,
limited.
if you look at if, how many people do you think have 100 grand in their bank account in Canada? A good amount, I would say. And that's including anything, any registered plans within the bank. They could just access that
RSP,
easily.
TFSA,
Exactly.
yeah,
So RSPs, that'd be a lot of people. And if the
RESPs, children's
exactly,
education, all kinds of things.
exactly. And so if the bank fails and all that money over 100 grand is
Gone.
basically gone, but then within the insurance, they can't touch it because it's outside the banking system. And so it's protected that way, and it's also growing whilst these people don't have their money. And so to answer your question, that's the long form, but basically it's just outside the banking system.
And isn't it designed if your policy is like 100,000, by the time you die or something, it's supposed to match somehow, like the accounting thing. You at the end, it's guaranteed you're gonna get to whatever amount is insured.
Yeah. So how the so this your viewers might be confused at what I'm about to say. It's easier to show just like an example, but basically,
Yeah,
your death benefit and cash values by age 100
that's right.
contractually have to match. And so this is the part where it's going to get confusing to some people probably.
Mhm.
But the money you put the deposit into the insurance company, they take that and put it into their various investments that they have. They've been paying out dividends for over 100 years straight. And so at the end of the year, you as a policy owner receive the dividends. That dividends goes to purchase more death benefit. So every year your death benefit grows. And so since they're supposed to match, your cash values and death benefit have to match by age 100. So every year the death benefit grows, so the cash value has to catch up. It gets contracted in the
Unlike
wording.
the banks get 100,000 in deposits,
It's
and they
gone.
can lend out.
Mhm.
How much can they lend out? I think it's
Well,
isn't it 10 times or something crazy, like
it's
a million or
well, no, it's 90. Well, actually, since COVID, it's 0%. They don't have to have anything on reserve. So if
so
you put in 10 grand in the bank, the next second they can lend it to
lend
someone
out.
else.
So they could
And
lose it completely.
correct. And just because they're just greedy with the money and they're over leveraged themselves, it's just a mess. And it's just going to get worse, really, of what the banking system is.
Except with the death benefit, you're dead, so you don't know.
But your wife or your husband or your kids
I know. I'm just.
do know.
I'm
Yeah.
just doing a joke.
And IBC, what's cool is you get to enjoy it while you're alive, while most
Yeah, more
people,
if you're a real estate investor or
yeah,
yeah,
or different
absolutely.
types of investment. I could see business owners getting
Mhm.
policies. I know some large corporations get life insurance on their staff, like high powered executives, and do different things.
Banks have hundreds of billions of dollars in, it's called BOLI, so it's bank owned life insurance. So
Wow.
it's the same design of what we do, but then banks have hundreds. In Canada, they don't disclose how much, but in the States, they disclose what banks have bank owned life insurance and how much, and it's hundreds of billions of dollars.
Wow.
It's
That's insane.
crazy.
So the
Yeah.
banks believe in it as well.
Yeah. And the banks, their only mission is to make money. So
Yes.
if they would put hundreds of billions of dollars in it, it's a it's a good thing.
That's the whole point. Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Hayden, for sharing a little bit about IBC. And if people want to follow you, find out more about what you do, and yeah, book an appointment, maybe get some life insurance, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
The best is probably email. So my email is my last name, IBC. So it's Hayden Padalino IBC at gmail.com. Or you can message me on LinkedIn, and that's just my name, Hayden Padalino. The group I'm with is IB Canada Group. And so our website is ibcanadagroup.com, so you can get some more information there.
Amazing.
Perfect.
And I know your group does publish quite a bit of educational content and things that are very thought provoking and push you to find out more. There's lots of great reads, and it's an awesome team. So I'm really glad we could have you on and enjoy a bit of Monte Cheval with you.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll have to catch up with you in the future and find out what you're up to in a few years'
Yeah,
time.
well, in 20 years to see the
Yeah, 20 years. We'll book it. We'll book it right now. 20 years.
Man, we're gonna be old in 20 years, but anyway.
He's gonna be old in 20 years.
Yeah,
not
you're gonna
me.
be younger in 20 years, but whatever. Well, that's great. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and take care.